New Orleans and Progreso are two very different destinations on the Gulf of Mexico. A sail up the Mississippi River in the early morning mist can be very atmospheric. New Orleans is the largest city in Louisiana and at its highest point is just 17 feet above sea level. Originally settled by the French and Spanish, it's now one of the world's most cosmopolitan cities. The cruise terminal is right next to the outlet mall, and passengers can walk through this on their way to the streetcar to the city centre. There's no cash change, but you do get a credit note. We rode to the French Quarter, the heart of the historic city, where it all began. Almost immediately we saw one of the horse-drawn carriages which give tours of the old city. Jackson Square was established in 1721 as a military drill field. At the back of the square is St. Louis Cathedral, in front of which is the mounted statue of General Jackson, erected in 1856. The streets around the square are alive with street performers, musicians and artists. On either side of the square are the Pont Alba buildings, with luxury apartments above and offices and shops on the ground floor. Typical of the French Quarter are the wrought iron balconies, ranging from simple to very ornate. If New Orleans is the home of jazz, then Bourbon Street must be its birthplace. It's filled with clubs ranging from simple, basic bars to top-notch dining venues, all of which leak music into the street. The city is also known for voodoo, and this mobile stall uses the motorbike to advertise its wares. Within the French Quarter there are boutique hotels, quiet courtyard cafes and friendly coffee houses. At the end of Ursuline's Avenue is the French Market, a beautifully restored 160-year-old market. It's crammed with stalls selling Creole and Cajun foods. There's a small square opposite the market where we sat and listened to jazz being played in the surrounding cafes. Then we got back on the streetcar to return to the ship for overnight. The following morning we headed out into Cajun Country for a boat ride. We got onto flat-bottomed, canopied boats and sailed slowly along the canals and bayous. Canals are man-made, but bayous are natural, carved out by the tides. Along the banks are moss-covered cypress trees. Along the route were old jetties with crayfish baskets. There was also a reproduction trapper's shack, supposedly selling the pelts of nutria, also known as koipu. The captain showed us one of the pelts. We passed a turtle which were once hunted for food, and one of their shells was passed round the boat. We were then given an alligator head to examine. The captain went into a cupboard on the boat and brought out this little alligator. This is what it'll grow into, at least 24 feet long. The baby was then passed round the boat, though not before its jaws had been taped shut. We returned to base, then back to the ship, where the Carnival Triumph was sailing down the Mississippi. We met the Carnival Triumph again a couple of days later as we docked in Progreso in Yucatan, Mexico. The port is at the end of the world's longest pier, because the Yucatan coast is too shallow to take modern ships. We were driven past salt pans on our way to the Mayan site of Xcambo. The Maya first appeared in Yucatan in 1500 BC, and the civilization reached its peak between 250 and 900 AD. It's quite a small site with pyramids at either end, and we were encouraged to climb all over them. Coming down wasn't as easy as going up. The city was used as a distribution centre for salt and salted fish. You can still see the foundations of houses round the central area. Stones from the site have been used for generations by locals to build their homes, and even this Catholic church, which is right in the archaeological site. This is the altar. Alongside the church is the second pyramid. This pyramid is built of smaller stones, so it's a bit easier to climb down. We then moved on to Simul, a small town with an 18th century church, the largest in Yucatan. Over the door is a stained glass window, and above that a statue of St. Francis. Inside there's a very elaborate altar. In a courtyard behind the church, an area had been prepared for a barbecue for us. After we'd eaten, we had a demonstration of local dancing. Some of our group were roped in at the end. We then drove back over the pier to the cruise terminal, where there were many souvenir shops. Finally, it was just a short walk back to Oriana.